What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Thrive Talks with Josh Madrigal. This is a podcast that I've been wanting to do for such a long time. I've been just brainstorming about it, just thinking about it, and keeping it in the back of my head. And like I've been telling a bunch of my friends and peer groups and business partners, this is the year of taking action. This is the year that I start to actually apply the things that I preach. And you guys are going to keep me accountable. You guys are going to see my journey. If you follow along with me, you're going to be able to see everything that I'm doing, because this is a podcast centered around self-development. I am a realtor here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so sometimes I am going to talk about real estate, but it's not really going to be centered just on real estate. Although I might have guests on that are realtors or are in the real estate business, because ultimately I'm going to have people on that I feel like-minded. We're like-minded, and we're interested in the same topics, and that's kind of what I want this podcast to be centered over. I want this to be centered over about people that are here to hustle, here to grind, learn, self-development, all that stuff. So I'm really excited to present this to you guys. Like I said, it's something I've been wanting to do for such a long time, and I'm just so blessed to have just anybody that's listening to it right now. And hopefully you follow along with me on this journey, and you get to keep me accountable, make sure that I'm doing what I preach. And yeah, so a little bit about me, guys. If you don't know me, I know a lot of my friends and family do obviously know who I am, but there might be a lot of you that are new here and they don't know what I do. So I am a realtor here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been a realtor for this will be year 2 now, and I will say that this is a business you cannot do part-time. And that was the biggest mistake that I made, one of the biggest learning lessons that I honestly just really realized till now. This is my year 2. But the first year, I was only doing real estate part-time, and I made several transactions, but it wasn't aligned with the goals that I had, the mindset that I have, and the things I want to accomplish. I wasn't setting the standards right. My standards weren't matching the goals, and that's ultimately why I didn't reach the success that I wanted to reach. And it's also because I was working somewhere else and then doing real estate part-time, which is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can do if you want to be a realtor or want to to be a realtor, really. I'm sure you could probably do real estate investing on the sides, but you need money for that. Sometimes there's other creative financing ways to get around it, but that could be a topic for another video. But yeah, so that's kind of like the hardest lesson I had to learn in the beginning. And this, like I said, this is year 2 of real estate. You guys are going to keep me accountable, make sure that I'm doing all the right things, and you're going to come along this journey with me, and you're going to call me out if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to build a community where we are all open for conversation, open for feedback, and I appreciate any feedback, anything I can get better at, so you guys can keep listening in and watching my journey. A little bit about how I want the podcast to flow. So I will have guests on, and like I said, I'm going to have guests on for good conversation, having conversations about real estate, business, hustling, entrepreneurship, you name it. That kind of stuff is what I'm really interested in. That's where we're going to center this podcast on. So I do want to have guests on, and towards the end of the episodes, I'm going to have Q&A sessions. And once this podcast starts to grow, I'm going to be making posts before I go on air. That way you guys can send me questions, things you guys want to know, just any kind of question, and we'll pick a couple. Then we will answer them live on the podcast. So for today, no one knows I'm making a podcast. This is all, once you watch this is pretty much going to be like, oh, wow, Josh is making a podcast, for the ones that know me. So I preset some questions. And yeah, so question 1 is, are there any specific routines or habits that help me maintain my balance? And I would say for me, one thing that I like to do, and it's something new that I've been doing towards the end of last year, that's kind of when I've been my mentality has kind of been changing. And I've been making lots of changes, and I'm just open for growth at this point. So one of the biggest changes I made is the first 30 minutes of the day, I don't get on my phone. And for me, I got that little hack, that trick and hack from a book that I read, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But it's staying off your phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. And what that kind of does for you psychologically is kind of saying that you're in control of your day. You're not going to let your phone dictate how you're supposed to feel, what you're supposed to do for the day. You are saying that, like, today I'm in control of my actions and what you do. So those first 30 minutes of your day are super crucial, and I do that pretty much all the time now. I try to. I'm not perfect. I mess up. It's a learning process, but that's something that I try to implement. And apart from that, after doing that, pretty much I get ready and I go do something physical. I feel like I need to stay active, do something physical, so I go to the gym. So to get me, I like to start my day like that. And before working out, I jump in the sauna, and that's where I get my kind of like my peace and quiet, where I get to meditate, pray, and just like visualize the things that I want, the things that I know God has for me, and that I know God has for you if you take the time to meditate or pray. But those are the habits that I tend to do in the morning to set the tone for my day. So question 2, what advice would I give to my younger self on the journey of self-development or entrepreneurship? I think for sure what I would tell my younger self is just to take action early. Take action a lot earlier. Don't be afraid of what people think, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to reap the benefits of your hard work and your family, right? But if you don't take the action, you don't put in the work, and you listen to all the noise, all the exterior noise, you're going to stay in the same place you were last year, making the same mistakes, never advancing in life, and just stagnant. And I've lived that several years ever since I really started engaging in self-development. I've been stagnant, and it's pretty miserable when you realize that if I would have just taken action earlier, you would have at least been a lot further along the lines of where a lot closer to your goals, But I think that's one advice I'd give to my younger self, and I'm sure me saying that someone's probably resonating with that, where there's something you guys want to do, and you're just not taking that next step. There's a famous quote that I like to listen to, or that I have not listened to, but I have it on my screensaver. I have it on a sticky note here at my monitor, and it's, good things come to those who wait, but only the things left over by those who hustle. And for me, that tells me that, good things are going to come if you wait, but you're just going to get the leftovers by the guys that are out there hustling. So, and if you're competitive like me, and I'm pretty competitive, I hate losing. And the reality is, if you haven't taken action or taken that next step, we're losing. We are losing to those guys that are out there hustling. And those guys that are out there hustling and taking action, they're not waiting around to make sure that they have everything set up. They're speaking perfectly. They have everything perfect. That causes just inaction when you try to overanalyze things. What's it called? The phrase is like, analysis paralysis. That's what it's called. You just overanalyze, and it just causes you to not do anything, and you just stay stagnant. You're going to stay in the same place you were last year, speaking the same BS, saying that you are highly motivated, you're ready. Like, you're going to get to the end of the year, and everyone knows that pretty much overrated New Year's resolution. January 1st is probably the most overrated day. That's when everybody is ready to take on the new year. They have all these goals set, but they never took even a second to look back at all the mistakes they did in the past. And that's why they're going to keep recreating these mistakes, because they don't take a second to look back and see if they were the problem, what they did wrong, and what they can get better at. So that's probably my advice. I know it was a lot, but that would be my advice. I probably jumbled a bunch of stuff into that question, but I feel like someone will actually take this and knows and is hearing me and is resonating with them, and that's a win for me. Question 3 is, are there any specific podcasts or books that have a significant impact in my road to entrepreneurship? And yes, like I mentioned, I was going to mention about a book that I read that really changed my habits and a lot of the things I did. And there's plenty of books, but for me, this is an easy book that I feel like any intro entrepreneur or someone that's just getting into self-development, or someone that's into self-development but just haven't read this book yet. But I'm sure you've heard of this guy if you are into that kind of space of self-development and entrepreneurship. It's a book called The Power of One More by Ed Milet. It's one of those books that, especially if you know his podcast, you listen to him speak, and you know how you like kind of how things he talks about, how he speaks. It's one of those books, like for me, when I was reading the book, as I'm reading along the pages, it's almost like I could hear his voice saying these things because the way he writes is honestly the way he speaks. So that book, it's powerful. A lot of like step by step things that you could apply to your life that are just gonna make you better, ultimately. And it's not like a book where a lot of these entrepreneur and business BS gurus that are just trying to sell something to you. And most of the time, those books are just full of fluff. That's the word, like where it's just a bunch of stuff that you can't really apply. Just I don't even know how to explain it. The word is just called fluff. But this is one of those books that's not full of fluff. It's full of tactical and practical things you could actually apply to your life. And I feel like I said, even people that are just getting into the self-development space could really benefit from the book. It's changed my perspective. A lot of the ways I was thinking, it's opened my eyes to really start taking action. And I mean, as you can see, I'm doing this. This is something I didn't think I was gonna do. It's just something I wanted to do, you know. But now it's I have to do it. I know I have to do it. And I don't want to get into like the specifics of the points on the book. I would just suggest that you guys just pick up this book. I think I bought it at, where did I buy it? I think I bought it at Target. It's on sale for like $15. So it's not too bad. You can go pick it up, Target or Walmart actually, and $15. I promise you, it's a book you would want to read. And if you're not too sure about the book, at least listen to his podcast. He has a really famous podcast called the Ed Milet Show. Very popular podcast, very insightful. I would say a lot of the stuff he preaches on the podcast is in the book, so you can at least consume some free content there, so that we can get started and kind of getting into the space and learning a little bit about the way he talks, the way he teaches, and everything. So that would be probably to answer your question. Yes, that book is one I would really recommend you to pick up and read. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to my podcast, listen to what I have to say. I'm just so grateful and blessed to have each and every one of you that's listening to this right now. And I hope you stay along this journey with me to help me, keep me accountable, give me feedback on where I can get better, things I can do better. And guys, everybody knows that the number one thing that you could do for an entrepreneur or a business owner that's free is just to like and share and subscribe to the podcast. The more this podcast grows, the more I'm able to bring on better guests, have better conversations, and then ultimately upgrade. And that'd mean the world to me if you could at least just like and share the podcast, share it to someone you think could benefit from hearing this. I'm sure there's some things that people are going to resonate in this podcast. And yeah, if you have any feedback, any comments, please comment down below. If you're listening on audio, share it on your social media. I would just really appreciate it. That's the only way we're going to grow is if we get together, form a community, and grow together. And man, I'm so excited for you guys to see my journey and see where this podcast goes.